Dynamite. Are you listening? Are you watching closely? I want to tell you a little secret. Do you like magic? Why, of course you do. Well, every magic trick now consists of just 3 parts or acts. The very first part is what they call a pledge. The mission will attempt to show you something rather very ordinary. Perhaps just a simple deck of cards, maybe a little bird, or even a rather ordinary, not extraordinary man. He does this to begin to attract your attention, preparing you to be astounded and amazed, as all magicians do. They call it a pledge because it is very much like a promise to gain your confidence. And he there pledges to you its utter commitment to a rather ordinary object's very ordinary normality. Something like yourself, of course. After doing something rather quite extraordinary, of course. Producing from nothing and thin air. Now this rather ordinary, mundane object before you. A deck of cards, a bird, or even an ordinary man. Something quite routine, taken from everyday life of every single day and every single month. Yet he, the master magician, conjurer, prestidigitator, stage illusionist, and showman, now has your attention. But he still needs you now to demonstrate that you too are very interested, to gain your confidence, just like any other salesman or even con man, or maybe even politician. Perhaps he will even ask you to inspect it, luring you in to come even closer, presenting a sense that he is welcoming you into his magical world, like a cheerfully smiling crocodile, spreading wide his claws to welcome little fishes in, unaware. And you say, why not? Even though you look like an intelligent person, seeing is not always believing. And yet in total reciprocity, ever so politely, please, he will say to you, feel free to touch this rather ordinary object, placing your grasp upon it with your very own hands, drawing you ever still closer to see that it is indeed too very real, totally unaltered, not manufactured contrivance or trick. All rather very normal. Nothing extraordinary. Very much like yourself, taken from every day. But of course, in a magic show, in a stage illusion, fanciful entertainment, it probably isn't. If anything ever sounds too good to be true, it's probably not. If If you're ever invited to a poker game and you don't know who the sucker is, you need not look any further around, because it is probably you. And now yet the welcome guest at his communion table in fellowship, the grateful beneficiary of his magnificent offer of kindness to you. You are still awaiting in expectation now for something even more. And the second act is called the turn. Now, the magician, your newfound friend, takes that rather ordinary something object and makes it do something rather quite extraordinary, miraculous, wondrous, astonishing, perhaps even shocking. Ready for you to exclaim in staggered bewilderment or tickled delight that simple phrase of joy. Wow. But now he's got you within his spell, without ever uttering even one incantation, one mystical phrase or magic word. Now, burning with curiosity or even daunting praise, you're looking now for the secret to be shared with you. But you won't find it. Then it would not be a magic trick at all, would it? And because, of course, you're not really looking for it. You don't really want it to know. You really rather want to be fooled. And that is exactly why, precisely why, every single magic trick ever performed on a stage or street corner has a third act. The hardest part. The part we call the prestige, where we make that rather ordinary object that had rather miraculously come into our life and disappear, return now again. And sitting there within that theater, you came there just to wait for that magic moment when that object comes again. It's all just magic. Magic. Hocus pocus. Alakazam. Abracadabra. Or just a stage illusion. Tricks. Sleight of hand. False cards, false bottoms, smoke and mirrors. Merely parlor games for impressionable children. And when we were children indeed, life was rather quite very simple. We could do crazy things without consequences. When we were just little children, we wanted to believe anything. And we wanted to believe that anything and everything was possible. We truly wanted to believe in a Santa Claus. And we had wanted to believe just as much in an Easter Bunny. We wanted to believe in magic. We had rather quite all wanted to believe in wonder. Visions of sugar plums and magical tooth fairies gently placing coins under our pillows while we remained asleep. But what is magic more than what some rather entertaining fellows engaged in a legal profession often describe as fraudulent concealment? No more different than the great Eric Weiss, who many people know by another name, Harry Houdini. His invisible, disappearing element in the Hippodrome in New York, which was really just a very, very large venue. very, very small container behind which, especially with distorted angles, they could place the elephant inside and hide him behind a curtain. But in fraudulent concealment, at least according to attorneys, a rather interesting bunch of entertainers, believe it or not, there are only just two types. First, there is a self-concealing fraud, for which mere silence is not enough. No cover-up, because in fraudulent concealment there must, however, always be some trick or contrivance intended to exclude suspicion and prevent injury, which may only be the ignorance of your sucker, mug, true believer. But still they must somehow engage in some type of misleading, deceptive or otherwise contrived action or scheme in the course of committing wrong that is designed to mask the existence of a cause of action. The deception may be as simple as a single lie. You look like an intelligent person, or one that is rather quite complex. This is very much like in a magic trick where we present the pledge. However, the second type is very much like the second act in magic, which we had described as the turn, which always precedes the final act of the prestige, bringing it all back. And in court, if this had been a criminal matter, they would seek to present evidence of some rather overt act that had been done. The mysterious cover-up, the who, the when, the why and how, in furtherance of the commission of that great caper or crime, to aid the criminals to evade capture and even conceal, hence a fraudulent concealment, the conduct of a crime. Like replacing an original piece of art with a forgery that might go undetected for years, decades, centuries. In a self-concealing fraud, the fraud may go undiscovered even though the defendant, after commission of wrong, does absolutely nothing to conceal it. But still he may be liable if the victim has done his or her part, is diligently inquired into the circumstances, due diligence. The plaintiff's due diligence is essential for this first type of self-concealing fraud. However, in the second type, the fraud goes undiscovered because the defendant has actually taken positive steps, overt acts after commission of the fraud to keep it concealed and hidden from view. In 2011, the Marist poll had discovered that most of us, even as adults, still want to possess magical powers. This poll had discovered that just 16% of us wanted the ability to fly like Superman. Just 11% had wanted the ability to teleport themselves to different places, like on Star Trek. And just 10% wanted to be just invisible, for whatever reason. However, over 20% had coalesced around just two rather magical and miraculous capabilities, split between the ability to read minds and the ability to travel through time, with the preferences for each divided, of course, on demographic lines. You can only guess who wanted to do what. And what if you had the ability to travel right now through time? Maybe even go into the past to pick up a sports almanac so that you could return to the future and place winning bets on every game. Would that be wrong or not? Well, some say that a rather recent health crisis had been all just a big hoax. And at least under federal law, any person who purchases or sells a security while in possession of material, non-public information shall be liable in action in any court to any person who contemporaneously with the purchase or sale of securities that is subject of such violation has purchased or sold securities of the same class. The same class. That is what is called insider trading. But you would have to establish that a person had actually possessed non-public information not available to anyone else. Trade secrets, classified information. Rather difficult to do if you don't know what the secret is, or that the secret was even that. However, also going to our second type of fraudulent concealment, whoever engages in any conduct with the intent to convey false or misleading information under circumstances with respect to, believe it or not, a biological agent, which could include bacteria, viruses, fungi, rickettsial, or even protozoa, or any infectious substance naturally occurring, bioengineered, or synthesized that is capable of causing death, disease, or other biological malfunction, is liable in a civil action to any party incurring expenses. What if you could travel back in time and visit a place like perhaps not Wuhan, where some had said that this virus had spilled over from a lab, but the very location where the horseshoe-backed coronavirus that shares 96% affinity with the novel virus had been circulating to take a picture. Perhaps in 2005, when the Chinese had first discovered this virus and begun experiment with it. A picture covert or not, before this virus had, as they say, naturally spilled over or had escaped from a lab. Freezing in a distilled picture, that critical moment, a start point, a decision point, a line of departure. And what some planners might describe as the beginning of phase one. Before it made its way somehow in a lab, or if you want naturally, to another species, an intermediary host. Phase 2, and eventually phase 3, to a human to cause a pandemic. If you had possessed that knowledge about what now the government has even conceded had rather quite in fact been not only a biological weapon or CBRN agent or agents, which they had determined back in February 2020 to authorize the tests and also the vaccines, but also one that had found its origins in a lab, a chimeric virus, and just did nothing. Well, you would certainly be concealing something by not coming forward. But perhaps that is just a matter of degrees of culpability. And perhaps you can think of something far worse than apparently beating Adolf Hitler in half the time. However, would it be any different, by a measure of degree, had you possessed this knowledge and not only kept it secret to yourself and your friends, of course, but had gone even further to ensure that others might not ever know that secret that you know, while you had profited, made money, M-O-N-Y-E-Y, rather, money. A concealment of evidence to make what would otherwise be knowable material evidence to ensure that while everyone else lost something in the pandemic, you had been rather well compensated for your, shall we say, unique services. If I told you right now that you could make $10,000 for every person that you could make disappear with no consequences, surely you might consider the offer and consider exactly how many people you might be able to miss. One early French visitor to America had remarked how he had never met in America with any person so poor as not to cast a glance of hope and envy upon the enjoyments of the rich, nor whose imagination did not possess itself of those good things that fate still obstinately withheld from them. And if you like magic, then my dear friends, this may be your lucky day. This message was approved by Major Mike Webb. Honest.